This is the third part of the interview with Oleksandr Alfiorov, the new head of the Ukrainian Institute of National Memory, recorded as part of the Black Sky Stop Fake project in August 2025. The interview is conducted by Pavel Bobolovich and Wojciech Jankowski. We invite you to listen to the previous two parts.
You say that it is better not to raise this issue in Parliament, but that is precisely the point. The latest law passed by the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine on compensation for victims of resettlement from Poland has once again provoked two opinions in certain circles in Poland. The first is that it is no coincidence that the law was passed at a time when Poles are commemorating the Volhynia massacre, and that this is an attempt at a political response. The second is, I wonder what you think about this, that it is the first step towards accusing Poland of genocide in connection with the resettlement of Ukrainians, and in time because, as I understand it, the bill does not explicitly say so, towards demanding compensation from Poland for this.
Are you referring to deportation? Undoubtedly. If I had been the president at the time, I was not yet at that time, and had participated in the drafting of this bill, I would, of course, have raised the issues you just mentioned. For me, as a civil servant, this is already a past law. I have my personal opinion. Yes, in many respects, it seems like a great rush and a lack of proper justification. Just like the recent decision of the Polish Sejm. These are bad things. There are many mistakes in this process, precisely when we should be patient and calm and give qualified specialists the opportunity to do their work. I cannot comment on the actions of either the Ukrainian or Polish parliaments, just as you cannot.
Я не можу коментувати діяльність парламенту як українського, польського.
Well, you can. You are a free man. You are not a government official. Yes, you are the fourth estate. Yes, you can do anything. Even talk to the head of the Ukrainian Institute of National Memory and ask questions that no diplomat or constitutional body would ask. That is why I would not like to discuss this law now. I think that a lot has already been said about it. I think it is premature for Ukraine, a country that is at war, which has finally begun a dialogue with Polish historians about the 20th century. The historical dialogue between Ukraine and Poland is broad and ongoing. And let's be honest, when we talk about the deterioration of relations between Polish historians, we are not talking about historians as such, but about researchers of the 20th century. After all, large conferences are being held at the same time, attended by Polish, Ukrainian, Belarusian, and Lithuanian historians, devoted to the periods of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in the 18th and 19th centuries. So let's admit it, there are quite good relations between Polish and Lithuanian historians when it comes to the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth and the era of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. Of course, the situation is worse when it comes to the 20th century. The situation is similar with Belarusian historians. Therefore, there is indeed a sharpening of views on the 20th century between us, but not only historians have joined in on this topic, but also sociologists, demographers, political scientists, and religious scholars. This is a very broad spectrum of people, many of whom are guided not by scientific research methods, but by emotions. That is why, as an academic historian, I have always chosen to work primarily with sources that are devoid of emotion and based on thorough scientific research.
Now you will be working with the public, and as I understand it, one of the tasks facing the Institute is education. How do you currently perceive Ukrainian society? Perhaps you have analogies or reservations about Polish society. How is general historical awareness shaping up, particularly with regard to World War II? Do you think that interest in history is growing at present? And is this a good or a bad thing?
I've always been proud of the Polish nation. First of all, I am proud of its natural interest in history, not the kind taught in schools, but a natural interest, a natural defense of history. Every Pole, whether a historian or not, will defend their history. I have heard people of all ages say that Lenin created Ukraine, and this is not just Putin's thesis. It was also present in part of our Ukrainian society. At the same time, when a Pole hears something untrue about Józef Piłsudski, regardless of whether they know his biography or not, they will defend him. This is a popular defense of history, which is a lasting feature.
І знає він Юзефа Пилсудського, не знає його біографії, а він стане в захист. Це народна оборона історії, яка притаманна.
At the same time, it is understandable that the depth of the Ukrainian national memory was destroyed by the Holocaust and World War II. In our families, we often do not remember what our great-grandfathers did during World War I.
Що робили прадіди на Першій світовій війні. Нас мало хто пам'ятає, що у них прадіди брали участь в Першій світовій війні. А українці...
Few of us remember that their great-grandfathers took part in World War I, and about 4 million Ukrainians fought at that time. Every second or third man, regardless of age and weapons.
Скільки історичних книжок в Польщі високоякісних, скільки журналів високоякісних, історичних.
That is why I will say this. No matter how many high-quality historical books and magazines there are in Poland, we will not be able to achieve these Polish results for a long time. But according to my internal observations, I look at my own YouTube statistics and talk to colleagues from historical channels, interest in history among Ukrainians has increased about tenfold, especially at the beginning of the full-scale war.
Я писав свої відео на початку повномасштабної війни на цей телефон майже, з яким я зараз...
I was shooting my videos with almost the same phone I'm talking to you with now, and people were sitting in shelters and looking for answers. Why did this happen?
Чому так сталося?
People searched and found history. That's why I'm very happy that Ukrainians are now more interested in history, and that coming back to our question about World War II means that the more you are interested in this history, the better you understand both responsibility and processes. Even if we go back to the Volhynia tragedy, if you ask Ukrainians if they know about it, I can tell you that until 2022, the answer would surprise Poles. Although I am convinced that if you asked Poles in 1990 about the Volhynia tragedy, the answer would also surprise contemporary Poles.
В 90-й рік. І ця відповідь теж би здивувала би сьогоднішнього поляка.
During communism, it was simply impossible to talk about it. It was one of those topics, either heavily falsified or partially banned, because it was related to the Second Polish Republic, etc. But, Mr. President, this is a closely related topic. The level of awareness, does it help to combat the false narrative, which, as I understand it, may actually stem from internal political processes? However, I am convinced, and I think you will agree, that we are seeing a false narrative that has come to us from outside and is simply being implemented by Russia as part of the war. We have talked a lot about this. For me, it is a difficult issue. In fact, every conversation with any representative of the Ukrainian state or institution focuses exclusively on Volhynia. I have the impression that this topic will divide supporters and opponents again anyway, even though we have been talking about this for a long time. I want to ask about it. You mentioned it briefly, but please give us a few examples of people and events from the history of Ukraine and Poland that could serve as examples on the basis of which we could try to give a different dimension to our historical relations. Who could be such an example for you? What events could be such an example for you when we say we should be like our heroes in history?
There are many such examples. I have already mentioned some of them. The most important thing is to draw the golden truth from these examples. As long as we are together, we have nothing to fear from the enemy. The list could go on and on. An example that comes to mind right now is my friend, an ethnic Pole who serves in my former brigade. He speaks Polish. We talk to him in Ukrainian, and there are no problems. An example of cooperation for victory. Do you know what we are missing today? The exhumation of the year 1920.
I was waiting for you to say that. I was waiting for this moment because I wanted to ask, will Oleksandr Alfiorov come to Bajkowe Cemetery in Kiev on August 15th, where 113 Polish soldiers are buried who, together with their brothers from Petlura's army, defended and liberated Kiev from the Bolshevik invasion? Will you come there and light a candle?
Я вам скажу більше, у нас 14
I will tell you more.
серпня
On August 14th and 15th, the Flame of Peace campaign is planned in Warsaw, and on my desk are documents concerning the implementation of this campaign in Kyiv. I will say more. The Institute plans to organize a joint event related to the miracle on the Vistula. At the Institute, perhaps for the first time in many years, there is currently a discussion about these events being planned exclusively by the Ukrainian side of the Institute.
нас зараз йде розмова про планування виключно українською стороною інституту цих заходів.
Therefore, Mr. Powell, I think this answer clearly shows that the politics of memory in Ukraine is no longer a policy of narrow memory or the memory of selected moments. It is a policy that encompasses various memories, which today are part of a new architecture. And God willing, I will be able to make this happen. Yes, I am telling you, until Victory Day, until the 105th anniversary of the miracle on the Vistula, we will be organizing our events.
Перемоги до 105-ї річниці Дивом над Віслою ми будемо робити свої заходи.
I hope we can also take this as an invitation to Kyiv. I would be delighted to join you and visit the Bajkowe Cemetery. It is very close to my heart, and to tell you the truth, for many years,
Together with my Ukrainian friend, Dmytro Antoniuk, we always remembered this date. We came there and paid tribute to the Poles, also remembering the Ukrainians who fought together against the Bolsheviks at that time.
Я скажу більше, пане Павло, що я був кількаразово присутній.
I will say more, Mr. Pavel. I attended these ceremonies several times when the historian Henrik Litvin was ambassador to Ukraine. And you know, everything always took place with a full understanding of unity and respect for those people who fought together against Russia at that time.
Проти Росії разом.
Mr. President, it often happens that we in Poland wait for Ukrainians to thank us for accepting refugees. But I want to say something else. I am very pleased, although I think that we see some issues differently, that I have the opportunity to talk to a Ukrainian officer, a man who had no doubts that he should defend his homeland, and as I understand it, in fact, also our homeland. First of all, I want to thank you for that and express my gratitude for what you have done as a Ukrainian soldier. I cannot find the words to thank you enough. I am also pleased that you mentioned our soldiers, Poles who serve in the Ukrainian army, and yes, this will now be exploited by Russian propaganda. But who had the courage to defend Ukrainian soil and our Western world, the world of our values, together with the Ukrainians? Above all, I would like to thank you for that, Mr. President, and thank you for this long conversation and the time you have devoted to us.
Mr. Pavel, thank you for your words. As we say here in Ukraine, thank you for thank you. The Polish nation is a friend to the Ukrainian nation, and the Ukrainian nation is also a friend to the Polish nation. I am a friend. I hope that soon the Polish people will call me a friend, and that will be the greatest honor for me. It is never too late, and it is never shameful to say thank you. The most important thing is that we always speak sincerely. In this world, you know, when my great-grandfather went to war, he took his children here in Kiev because my grandmother and her brother were orphans without a mother, and said, "There are two of you in this world, like two eyes. Take care of each other." I will tell you, Poles and Ukrainians, we are so united in this world. We really are like two eyes. We have shared pages of history, shared victories. So let's take care of each other. Thank you.
These were the words of Oleksandr Alfiorov, president of the Ukrainian Institute of National Memory, whom Russian propaganda considers one of the main nationalists, fascists, and Nazis in Ukraine. But, as we have seen and heard, the reality is quite different. Thank you very much.